Do you think that in the future we will have these quote unquote citizen data scientists that are able to run machine learning on autopilot in all kinds of different places?
I don't know, man. I think that I once saw a grainy photograph of a citizen data scientist in a national park. So I've never actually met one. I mean, citizen data science, data robot may have coined that term. I don't know. It was part of our spiel, and there are a couple of reasons why I don't think that they exist today. And one is that you actually have to have a significant amount of knowledge to frame a problem in the first place. And then the other one is you're going to need code at some point along the way. And so you're going to have someone to mentor you, or someone to kind of like hand it off to once you get past the most basic steps. So if anybody knows a citizen data scientist, I'd love a LinkedIn introduction. I'd love to have that conversation, but I've never met one. And I looked for them for years and years along the way. So in the future, I don't know, some of these generative AI models are, like ChatGPT writes pretty good code, which is, exciting. But there's a lot of nuances and a lot of ways to get it wrong. So I'm still pretty wary about a lot of the ChatGPT based solutions that get built out there. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't want to say never, but probably not for the next 5 or 10 years. Will you have something that is like a reliable coding environment that won't do dumb things like set up your cross validation wrong, or bake in some target leakage into your models, or overfit, or whatever it might be. Just because there's a lot of subtleties there that it's awfully hard that it would be awfully hard to design a prompt to communicate.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that tools like GPT-4, they make it conceivable that a citizen data scientist could exist, possibly. But I think it's getting into the nitty-gritty and being able to solve problems, be able to know that assumptions that you're making are going to pan out in the real world once you're in production. And I guess it's theoretically possible that somebody could develop all that kind of insightfulness that data scientists acquire without actually writing code themselves. But I think what's going to end up happening is that citizen data scientist is kind of iteratively making themselves less citizen all the time. Like maybe they can get started using GPT-4 to generate some example code, but then once they start running into issues, they're just going to end up starting to have to pick up an understanding of how that code works. And that could be made easier by asking GPT-4 questions, or similar kinds of tools questions. But I think they end up becoming less and less of a citizen as they get more and more of that experience. I think that the idea, it's hard to imagine how somebody could start without like coding experience, get into designing and then deploying machine learning models, and somehow along that way not picking up coding skills. It's hard to imagine. So I think it makes it maybe easier to get going, but I think you still end up getting the skills by the time you're doing it at a professional level.
Yeah, there's probably some sort of a training path there, somehow, like maybe in the university there's some way to incorporate these AutoML type tools to teach students
I
along the
think
way.
I think all the students are doing it anyway.
Yeah, right,
It's a funny
exactly.
thing. I think
But
it's
yeah,
making students' lives easier. We're in an interesting gap right now, probably a few years, where instructors can delude themselves that there's probably not that many of my students using GPT-4 to
yeah,
generate the code for this project.
exactly, exactly.